It was a quiet evening when Lucy first noticed them. She was home alone, curled up with a book, enjoying the silence. The house was isolated, nestled on the outskirts of town, and she often relished the solitude. But that night, something felt off. A strange, uneasy feeling crept over her. Then there was a knock at the door. She froze. Who could be knocking this late? She checked the time, 10:30 p.m. With hesitant steps, she approached the door, her heart pounding. Through the peephole, she saw two children standing on her porch, a boy and a girl, no older than 12. They were dressed in outdated clothes, their heads hung low, and something about their presence sent chills down her spine. She should have ignored them, should have walked away. But instead, she opened the door, just a crack. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice trembling. The girl looked up first, her face pale and emotionless. "We're lost. Can we come in to use your phone?" Lucy's stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Every instinct screamed at her to shut the door and lock it, but she didn't. She glanced at the boy who now lifted his head. That's when she saw them. Their eyes. Black. Completely black. No whites, no irises, just an endless, soulless void. Panic surged through her. She tried to shut the door, but her body wouldn't move. It was as if an invisible force held her in place. "We won't hurt you," the boy said, his voice calm and monotone. "We just need to come in for a moment." Lucy's mind raced. She had heard stories, legends about black-eyed children showing up at people's doors, asking to be let in. They were always polite, always insistent, and those who let them in never spoke of it again. Summoning every ounce of strength, she managed to slam the door shut and lock it. She stumbled back, her heart pounding in her chest, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She prayed they would leave, that she could just forget this ever happened. But then came another knock, louder this time, more demanding. "Please let us in," the girl's voice called, sounding almost pleading. "We're scared. We're lost." Lucy's hands shook as she fumbled for her phone. She dialed 911, her fingers trembling so violently she could barely press the buttons. But when she raised the phone to her ear, the line was dead. The power, the lights, they all flickered and then went out. She was plunged into darkness, the only sound her own panicked breathing. She backed away from the door, her eyes straining to see in the pitch-black room. Suddenly, there was a tapping sound against the window. Lucy turned slowly, her blood running cold. There they were, their black eyes staring at her through the glass, unblinking, unmoving. "Let us in," they whispered in unison, their voices echoing in the silence. "We promise we won't hurt you." Lucy could barely breathe. Her body was paralyzed with fear. She knew she couldn't let them in, knew that whatever they weren't children. The stories she had read, the warnings, they all came flooding back. These beings were something else, something evil. And once they were invited inside, they took something from you. Your sanity, your soul, your life. "Go away," she screamed, her voice breaking. "Leave me alone." But they didn't move, their faces pressed against the glass, their eyes boring into her, those endless pits of darkness threatening to swallow her whole. "We just want to use your phone," the boy said again, his tone devoid of emotion. "We're cold. Please, just let us in." Tears streamed down Lucy's face as she stumbled back, desperate to get away. She ran to her bedroom and slammed the door shut, her heart racing. She could still hear them, their voices soft and insistent. "Let us in! Let us in!" Lucy huddled in the corner of her room, clutching her knees to her chest, trying to drown out their voices. She stayed there for what felt like hours, her mind spiraling into darkness. When she finally dared to look out her window, they were gone. The sun was rising, casting a pale light over the empty porch. She wanted to believe it was over, that she was safe. But deep down, she knew she would never be free of those eyes, that darkness. In the days that followed, Lucy barely slept. The memory of those black eyes haunted her, every shadow, every creak of the house filling her with dread. And then the nightmares began. She would dream of them standing at her window, their eyes staring, unblinking, as "let us in." Lucy's mind began to unravel. She became paranoid, convinced they were watching her, waiting for her to let her guard down. She avoided windows, avoided the door, but their voices were always there in her head, whispering, calling to her. Until one night, exhausted and broken, she couldn't take it anymore. She stumbled to the front door, her body trembling, and with tears streaming down her face, she unlocked it. The door swung open, and there they were, standing on her porch, their black eyes gleaming in the darkness. "We knew you'd let us in eventually," the girl said, her lips curling into a sinister smile. Lucy's scream echoed through the empty house, but no one heard her. No one saw her again after that night. The police found her home abandoned, the door wide open, but there was no trace of her anywhere. Just an empty house and the lingering feeling of dread. So if you ever hear a knock late at night and you see two children standing on your porch with eyes as black as coal, don't open the door, don't even look at them, because once you invite them in, they never leave. For more terrifying stories like this one, and even more spine-chilling content, check out our channel, because sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain.